the big Sunday show, and yeah, a somewhat disappointing weekend has just turned a little bit more positive. So yeah, joining to me tonight, Des again. How you doing, Des?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on with these two lovely lads down here. And I mean lovely in the nicest possible way.
And Richard joining us again. How you doing, Richard?
He's froze again, isn't
he? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Dad. No, thanks for having me on again.
I thought you were staring at me there, Rich.
No problem. And Liam, the smug cannon.
No, it was internet again.
I think it's gone again. Richard?
I'm here.
He's back. He's gone.
He's gone. He'll be back.
He's gone. He'll be back. And yeah, the smug cannon, Liam, joining us again.
Yeah, I've got my smugness back slightly this evening.
Yeah. Over the last 10 minutes, wasn't it, or something? Was it?
Something like that. Yeah, there was a few edgy moments, as you see, but no, it's back.
I heard or saw nothing.
The 5-point lead stays, which is all good.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
So
sorry about that.
No worries. But
no,
yeah,
what was there, and that was, as you said something. We go bit come up on the screen. It was like.
No worries. No, that's fine. Yeah, we've got obviously a big show. Disappointment yesterday, obviously at Goodison Park. Yeah, but we'll go into it shortly after this little intro. So yeah, second defeat of our season, and look, if someone had said at the start of the season that we'd have only lost 2 games coming into February, you'd probably be saying, "Yeah, you have me on." Certainly after last season and how we've been, but yeah, it was a strange one. Certainly in the build up, obviously hitting another roadblock with these teams where they sack a manager, and we kind of, it's happened quite a few times where we've kind of hit a team where we've had the new manager bounce. And did it happen? Did it happen last year at Everton? Was that the one? It was, wasn't it? Last season.
I think it was. It was just when what's his face took over.
Yeah, and
he was still there. Benitez at the time, weren't he? But it was his only win in about 12 games.
Yeah, they hadn't won in 8 games, and then they turned up, didn't they?
Yeah.
So so it was a strange game, wasn't it? In the end of the day, we knew it was going to be tough, and I'm pretty certain we kind of knew how tough it was going to be. We knew it was going to be physical, but yeah, the atmosphere we couldn't really gauge. In all honesty, with the fans, the issues that they've got with the board, and it was like a cauldron, wasn't it? Liam, I'll go to you first. It was one of those where they're going to give everything for the team. I think the Everton fans just to show that support, but I think the new manager just buoyed that kind of feeling, and Dyche just said all the good things, hasn't he, to get them all on board. And yeah, what were your thoughts going into the game?
I was pretty confident, if I was being totally honest. I thought that I didn't think we'd lose the game. I said at half time I took a draw, definitely, because obviously once you see that first half, you kind of see how that game was playing out, and I was obviously thinking I'll take a draw here. But I don't know if people realise he's got a big old hoodoo over us, really, Sean Dyche at times. Like, we've played them in the last 6 games, 540 minutes. We've scored 2 goals against the Sean Dyche team. One was from a set piece, and one was a goalkeeping mistake. So Arteta does need to find a formula against Sean Dyche, because it seems that Sean Dyche really knows how to kind of stifle us. And this ain't the first time he's done it. I remember last year for Burnley at the Emirates, 0-0 in January. Very frustrating. We lost to him in lockdown 1-0 when the Shaka got sent off. Yet again got frustrated, and he seems to have this kind of hoodoo over us at the moment, and really knows how to play us. And I suppose in a game like yesterday is when you realise that you need a kind of target man up front, someone who's going to be able to hold the ball up, kind of bully the centre backs and all that. And we didn't have that yesterday. We didn't have that, and we haven't got that. And I still think that is something we do need to have in certain games. And I think we lacked the intensity that we have, but I think that would be down to a lot that Everton was so pumped up for it under Sean Dyche. But I do think also as well, I do think tactically Sean Dyche has got one on Arsenal at the moment, and it's how we kind of counteract that in future games to come as well, because it is 3 points dropped, but after what's happened today, it's not. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but we've got away with one here. We've definitely got away with one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Massive period. This is it. It's all you can sort of say, isn't it? It's one of those, certainly with this game at the Emirates coming up. And if we're talking about potentially, and priorities are always normally mentioned with regards to transfers, but we're looking at the priorities for the matches as well coming up. And you're thinking that number one priority is that City game. I'm pretty certain, and you can suddenly say, yeah, we've dropped no points this round of fixtures. Come Saturday, we've got another round. If we make sure that we get that result, yeah, that game midweek at the Emirates is going to be absolutely massive. If we thought that the Man United game was any an atmosphere, that's going to just blow the roof off. But yeah, what did you think, Des, about the game, going into the game? And
well, like Liam said, I was confident. I actually would win it 3-0 or something like that. The guy, just going on how we've been playing. But I've got to say, first 10 minutes absolutely made me go, this isn't going to go our way. I don't know, when you just get that feeling. And Everton's press, I've never seen them press like that all season. They were chasing us down, mate. They were like a pack of dogs, honestly. They were chasing us down. And I just think we actually got beat at our own game yesterday by Everton. Because we're usually the ones doing the pressing and, trying to score quickly. And when after the first 10, 15 minutes, Paul, Liam, Richard, I thought if they score one, that's it. It's going to be like trying to kick the ball against the wall, because they're just going to, not let us through. You know what I mean? So it would have been hard for us to score as well. And I've got to say as well, regarding players, Partey yesterday is in the midfield, the passing was absolute shambles. It was an absolute shambles. It was couldn't put a good pass together, I thought, for a good 10-15 minutes. And it's such a shame, but yeah, it was a shock to the system. But then sometimes you need one of them to wake him up again. Do you know what I mean? It's like having a kick up the bum, basically. And as I think you lads might agree, I'd rather get a kick up the bum from Everton than Man City. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, next is Brentford, isn't it, Paul? It's at Emirates, isn't it?
Yep.
Because
3 o'clock.
what we've also got to remember, guys, excuse me, what we've got to remember is both our games we've lost has both been away. We've not lost at home. So we need to keep that maintained, don't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's funny you used to say about the passing and all that, because that was something I suddenly thought, and I wondered whether or not they'd just not watered the pitch at the start, or it seemed really slow. But then every single pass that we were trying to make, certainly in those important areas, were just a yard too short and just.
Or too long. Or they were too long.
Yeah, it was really just. It was a strange performance, I think, from us, and I think, a lot's been said about, we didn't turn up, or we didn't do this, we didn't do that. But look, Everton done what they did, and they done it very well. There was so much energy in that middle of the park. But yeah, Richard, any other thoughts?
I think yesterday was probably the only time you could say we missed Jesus, because he would have created a different set of problems where that Nketiah is not going to be dribbling at the defender with the ball at feet and causing issues there. So they knew if they doubled up on Saka and Martinelli, and they sort of denied their spaces and kept that low block for Odegaard and Xhaka, but we would struggle. Whereas team earlier in the season, when we had teams slightly like that, we had Jesus and they couldn't keep all three. I would have liked to maybe have seen Nketiah come off, Martinelli move into the middle, and then Trossard. I don't think it would have mattered, but it might have given them a little bit another issue to deal with that they might not have been able to deal with. But you've got to praise Everton. They pressed us, they harried us, and then they put us off our stride. Saying that, going in that first 45 minutes, I wasn't sort of concerned. I didn't think we concede, and I looked at the goal we conceded, and my question is, how do you leave Martin Odegaard of a back stick against Tarkowski? They've been putting that ball over in that position all game long, and you'd had Saliba there dealing with it. But how on that one occasion did you allow Odegaard to be the guy at the back post with Tarkowski? And that's maybe something they'll have to sort of have a look at and question themselves as well. I mean, I don't think we deserved a point out of it anyway, but I think had we defended that one, we would have got a point out of it. I didn't see them going to score after.
Yeah. It's interesting you said about it might have been different with Jesus on the pitch, and obviously we spoke also about potentially that was kind of a game where maybe a bigger target man may have been a better option. Isn't Jesus probably much of the same with how Nketiah is? Obviously, Nketiah is more of a physical kind of player than Jesus is, but
he's a little more tricky, isn't he? He's a little bit more. He causes a little bit more chaos, and if he gets the ball to his feet and he turns, he causes trouble. Which is why I thought maybe Martinelli's very similar. Once you get that ball at his feet, he's a bit more chaotic and unpredictable, and that's why I thought maybe of shifting him into the middle and then taking Nketiah off. But yeah, you had to try and do something to change the narrative of the game, and I don't think we had anything there to do that. To be honest, I don't think we.
I think the main thing, wasn't it, was about just trying to turn them round, isn't it? Just get behind them. And they had a real good game plan of double teaming both Saka and Martinelli on both sides, and a lot's been made on Martinelli, hasn't it? And there's been a lot of criticism. I'd say all over Twitter and all sorts, and I don't agree with it. Have you seen most a lot of it or on there? And it's like, he needs to be dropped. It needs to be this. It needs to be that. It's like, well,
no, Martinelli doesn't need to be dropped. That's a load of rubbish.
Yeah,
Absolutely load of rubbish. End of the day, right? The kid plays well every time he'll give you a 7 every single game, sometimes even more, right? The thing is, right, it's the same. It's about being worked out. Yeah, you work it like who'd have thought Leicester would have won the league? Yeah, do you know what I mean? But next season they didn't do so well because it got worked out. Now all they're doing to us is they're going, well, he's a threat. He's a threat. Both kids on the side, Saka and Martinelli, double team them, but they can cut through. It's just Arsenal. See what gets me is that the fan base genuinely is too quick to criticise. But don't give no one a proper fair go. Yeah? This season, Martinelli, if you were going to criticise players, right, we'll criticise last season, right? So if I can just make a point there, right, okay? So Martinelli's getting criticism this season. He's playing out of his boots. Yeah?
Yep.
When Ben White criticism when he came, yeah? When Ramsdale came, criticism when he came. But what them lads are doing for us this season? All right, Ben White's having a bit of a problem at the moment. I think personally, I think he's just since the cup he's possibly not been the same. But don't criticise. Get behind the bloody team, man. You know, end of the day, get behind the team because we support the team. He's part of that team. Get behind it. Don't be criticising it. We've got a long way to go yet. Yeah. Too many people think they know too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. We come on here and we say what we think. But first and foremost, I support the team, and I can say the same for all of these lads that are on here now. Yeah, we speak our minds, and if we've got a grievance, we say it, right? Okay. But it's not. We're not criticising the player 9 times out of 10. We're criticising how it was played, and there's a difference. Okay. And Martinelli. He's just signed a 4-year deal. He loves the blooming club. Gives the boy a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get off his case. Let him play his football.
I know.
It
I think
it really annoys me.
it does. It frustrates me just to see. I almost broke on the WhatsApp group a little bit with certain things going on. But look, I'll show you this little graphic of like the average positions, and it highlights how isolated at times Martinelli can be, and when you've got a 2-on-1 and then trying to look for support. Obviously, Saka's finding it hard with a double team, but with all the kind of support that he's got on his side, most of the time, Martinelli sometimes finds that he is being a little bit kind of just left to his own devices because of Zinchenko tucking in and just creating that that kind of thing in the centre.
And Paul, can I just add to that, mate?
Yeah.
And this is not taking anything away from Saka. Martinelli's in the shadows because 9 times out of 10, the ball goes to Saka. So he's up there waving his arms past the ball to me, but 9 times out of 10, it goes to Saka. You know what I mean? So when the boy gets the ball, he does the best with what he's got. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And yeah, I could go a lot more on it and get a lot angrier, but I'm not going to do it on here. But you know, it frustrates me, mate. Frustrates.
Yeah, definitely. And Liam, what are your thoughts on Martinelli? I know I said like last week, not last week, but the Man United game, not to you directly, but I found that we were struggling or very slow to switch to play. So if we were looking to go and play down the left, we tried to switch to the right or vice versa. And it was most of the time obviously being played down the right, but Martinelli was always being left on his own devices, and that's where he found it really hard with Wan-Bissaka. And I just thought that we're not really making use of the switches as much as we probably should do to mix it up a bit. But yeah, Martinelli. What was your thoughts on him and how he's been?
Yeah, I think that graphic shows quite a lot in terms of obviously how we're playing at the moment. I think there was a passage of play, weren't there, over in the first, second half, where Zinchenko could have played it to him at least 2 times and then checked back. And I thought that was really frustrating because if he had played it the first time, right, like he would have given Martinelli an actual chance at that point to go 1-on-1 with someone. But then when Martinelli does finally get the ball, and I think what happens is when you're in the mid flow of a game, you get frustrated because you expect him to kind of then beat 2 players, but you ain't going to be able to do it. If he's back to back with players and they're back to back with each other, you're not going to beat them, are you? They're like they obviously got done their game plan superbly yesterday, Everton. But for me, when Odegaard doesn't play well, like yesterday, and I thought he had a really poor game yesterday. When Odegaard doesn't play well, then that whole system kind of obviously then is much weaker. And he hasn't had many poor games this year. But I guess you look at the Tottenham game away, Odegaard and Saka are absolutely on it, and we ripped them apart in the first half. And we probably didn't play nothing out to Martinelli in that game as well. And it always goes down the right-hand side. So he is playing a bit of a frustrating role at the moment, Martinelli. He's probably playing. I think what it is, right, I think where Jesus has come out and Nketiah has come in, Martinelli was getting a lot of his profit through Jesus' running, and Jesus was coming out to the left and doing a lot of damage on the left, and he was making loads of holes for Martinelli to then exploit and run into. We haven't got it at the moment because Nketiah doesn't do that. Nketiah's basically a fox in a box, isn't he? I know he can come in and he will try and hold up the ball, but Martinelli is missing Jesus a lot at the moment. Yeah. For me, what's the point of changing it? Like, we've lost 2 games, we've drawn 2 games, we've won everything else. I've seen, like, if I was to change anything, and I agree with you, Des, it'd be Ben White for Tomiyasu at the moment. Because I think at the moment, Ben White's getting a little bit found out at the moment. And I just think maybe he needs a bit of a breather, maybe have a game or 2. Do you know what I mean? But he might not want to do that because he doesn't want to upset the defence. Totally get that. But you know what you're going to get with Tomiyasu anyway. Like, if he goes Tomiyasu's white, it's pretty much like for like. You're pretty much going to be no different. So if they're going to make a change, that would be it. But I don't agree with everyone going, well, we need to put this player in, we need to put that player in. Like, yesterday, if I had a sub of 10 players, mate, I'd have probably subbed at least 9 of them. That's how bad they were. Do you know what I mean? But we've won. We're top of the league. We're top of the league by 5 points. We've got a game in hand, right? There's no point changing the team. Once Jesus comes back into that team, you're going to see a better Martinelli, without a shadow of a doubt. And do you know what? When Jesus comes back in that team, he's going to be like a new signing for the rest of the season. And can you imagine the lift that he's going to give that team for the rest of the season?
Hell yeah. Can I just expand on the point that Liam made? Sorry, Richard, mate, but I've got to say this. Yeah. What, like, Saka and Odegaard love doing little 1-2s with each other, right? But like Liam said, on the other side, you had Jesus and Martinelli doing little 1-2s, and Martinelli is missing his wingman. Do you know what I mean? And for some reason, Jesus just knows how to find space for Martinelli, and vice versa. Yeah, and that, just backing up Liam's point, that is what it's all about. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Nketiah shouldn't be on the pitch. I'm not saying that at all, because he's got his set. But when you've got Jesus on that side with Martinelli, they bounce off each other just as Odegaard and Saka bounce off each other, and that's what Martinelli is definitely missing. I would totally 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's that proper link up, isn't it? Just that, and to say, just when you're up against the top quality defender, you know what I mean? When you're on the 1-on-1, it's great, but then when you've got a midfielder that's tracking your runs as well and offering that 2-on-1, and when you've got no others around you, then it's a thankless task, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's just not. You're not going to really get anywhere apart from trying to come back inside and go somewhere else. But
can I quickly say one other thing? Just one other thing. Sorry, mate. Like the Xhaka thing as well, when like people saying, Xhaka should come out of the team now and all this and that. Like, he is the only player who's linking up down the left-hand side, so he's probably going out of his kind of remit. But Partey and Xhaka, apart from yesterday, they don't lose games. Like, these two are so good with each other. I'm not saying that they're the be-all or end-all, like, do you know what I mean? But when Partey and Xhaka do play, the majority of times, they win games. We stifle out games. People can't compete against that midfield. Don't change nothing, do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we lost yesterday, but if you've got Partey and Xhaka next week, I'm more confident that we're going to win games. Like, it's just that from time to time, you're going to come up against a special occasion or something don't happen. And yesterday was that day, unfortunately, for us.
Yeah. And it wasn't just one player, was it? That was, you know, I mean, you say, oh yeah, Odegaard didn't play well, but again, we look at it and we can say, yeah, there was like you could just pick and just say 5, 6, 7 players just seemed a bit off passing wise and just general touch and general kind of like movement. I just think with all these little, it was like Ben White as well, a brilliant one where he's played. Who did he tried to lay off, didn't he? We tried to play a little 1-2 little layoff, and it went out of play. And I'm just trying to think if it was Saka or not, but it was or Odegaard.
Was that not Partey? I think it was Partey, mate.
Maybe, yeah. It just summed up our passage of play, and those little kind of intricate kind of passing and movements just weren't there. So yeah, Richard, anything you want to add on to Martinelli?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're bashing a young kid, you know he's young. He's not got. Yes, he's isolated. Was isolated yesterday. He was also up against Coleman, who's 30 something now, has got years and years of experience against every sort of winger. He used his full experience against him. But again, young kids will have games where they're not firing, not playing. But he wasn't the reason we didn't win that game. The reason we didn't win that game is we didn't win our individual duels across the field. Too many of the players lost individual battles, and when you're doing that, you're going to struggle to win the game.
Plus the passing was an absolute shambles as well, which I've already said. But
well, that's our game, isn't it? And if that doesn't work, then you're never going to get that kind of grounding on the game. There was a period where we seemed to get it going a little bit, and then it just faded again, didn't it? And it was just...
I do wonder if Partey was fully fit, because he was subbed quite early, and it was again, okay, you say Everton caused us problems, but it was unusual for him to have come off so early. I was wondering if any of you thought he might still be feeling that rib injury from a City game, and it was sort of just the portion to keep him fit for the rest of the week.
Paul, the 12th man was quiet yesterday as well. Did you hear the Arsenal fans at all yesterday? Because I don't think I did.
I heard him midway into the second
half,
but that's exactly the home support. I imagine. I think at the end of the day. But yeah, there were pockets
it's the only place we've been where I have the away support, but I think that's more down to the Everton fans being pretty much noisy for most of the game.
Onana was sticking his chest out. I don't want to give it the last one. Do you know what I will say though? Arsenal need to practice their corners this week, because it's very rare we get it past the first man, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need some get some corners practice, mate.
It's been a long-standing kind of thing with Arsenal and corner taking and not really getting past the first man. I know we were marvelled over a certain time for getting the Steve Bold near post flick on, but
the ugly header.
You know what I mean? But we're not beating that first defender, and it's like, well, look, even Trossard come on and Odegaard let him take one, and the first one goes straight to the first man. It was just like he took corners for Brighton over, and you know what I mean? Just they were probably dangerous, but we do need. I think we've improved. We've improved certainly in those kind of set pieces and stuff, but.
Yeah, I mean we scored 7 this season from corners, so it's I think only Tottenham and Liverpool have scored more from, but And we saw it in United. We varied it up, but you do need to, if you're going to go to that near post, you need to beat that first man. So, but
Question.
they've got a book and they use the book dependent on the team they're facing. But it was always going to be difficult yesterday when you've got Tarkowski, you've got Cody, and you've got Gay and Decory are quite tall units as well, aren't they? They're quite.
I've got a question.
Yeah, go on.
Right? Regarding corners against us, right? I noticed this yesterday. I think it's happened before as well. Ramsdale, I love him to bits, right? But why does he always get boxed in on corners against us? It's as if he's moving in slow motion. You know what I mean? If he's got one foot, I think he controls his area. Now, from a corner against us, he doesn't seem so good. Or am I seeing something that isn't there?
I think it depends on the team. I haven't seen. It can come, but I think for most of those we dealt with reasonably well, and the one we didn't is literally within a minute of having substitutions on the bench, coming off a bench, and I don't think they'd set themselves and organised that for that particular kick coming in, which is silly.
Was there any need to take both players off right at that moment of time? I know, the corner was. Maybe you should only take one off at one point, and maybe give it 5 minutes to bring another one off.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was a strange, and as I said, I mean, I don't know whether Saliba got caught and his attention got caught by somebody else, but to allow Tarkowski at that back post on Odegaard, you were asking for trouble, and I think that was the only time that had happened. Why? I can only assume that with the substitutions, maybe they hadn't accounted for it. I mean, Jorginho came on. Partey's a bit taller, isn't he, than Juicy? So it's a less height in the box. So maybe they put Saliba in to try in case it went in the centre. But whatever.
It was frustrating. It was frustrating because they played that corner every single time. So they knew what corner they were doing, and it weren't no different to any other corner. They literally every corner was going right to that back post. It's a poor goal, isn't it? When you think about it more and more, it's a poor goal to concede.
Yeah, I mean, we should have learned from the first time, because like you say, Liam, right? They did that. Was it 6 in a row that they did the same way?
The same way, every single time.
So learn from it. We didn't think to learn from it. Where before we would have just, taken the nick, sorted it out. You know what I mean?
Odegaard shouldn't. I know, obviously, with the marking and all that, but you don't really want Odegaard marking him, do you? Let's be honest.
No, because it was every time they went to the back post, it was Tarkowski was at the back post. You know that, so you had to have sorted that out before the corner was taken. Should have had a look at where people were and then readjusted, but.
Yeah, but we've talked about obviously with our corners and the physical kind of difference with the bigger players for Everton. Obviously, down the other end, that shows, doesn't it? Well, obviously with how a threat they were, and when you picture that Everton obviously have Calvert-Lewin in there as well, so already they've got another big player in there anyway, alongside two central defenders. We've kind of still got to deal with that, haven't we? We've still got to try and come up with that conundrum: who's going to pick up where, and in their zonal areas. And if they're marking, they're not going to deviate from their kind of areas. And I know you're saying, you need to have someone there to kind of go for that big player. But again, one's going for Calvert-Lewin, one's on one of the defenders, one's on, or two of them are on Decory and the other guy in Onana in the middle in front of them. And you look at it like that, it is hard, and yeah, they don't look pretty when you look at the kind of the graphic when you see it coming across. But
they're all big units as well, Paul. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. But they are, and it's what I'm saying. We're a small team. We're a young team as well. And when you're dealing with physicality and some bigger players, then again, yeah, look, with that,
How did he score that? Because he's not even looking at the ball.
I'll be honest, you're right. I did sit there half time and consider whether he might tactically go like them and bring Jorginho on and sit him in there with a Xhaka and Partey to go like for like.
Mm.
I did think that he might do that in the second half, like giving him 15 minutes. I never ever thought he would take Partey off, but we don't know. We don't know what the background is with Partey. We don't know if he was fit or not. And you'd like to think because he got taken off, there's a circumstance behind it. But I did sit there and think we were struggling.
Yeah, Jorginho was poor.
Pardon?
I didn't think Jorginho was poor, but I think the normal substitution would have been Xhaka for Jorginho, and their Partey and Jorginho as the double pivot.
Richard, Jorginho was poor when he came on.
I don't think he's poorer than anyone else on that pitch.
Well, no,
I don't think he
wasn't. In fairness, he wasn't. But when he came on, he didn't lift the game. He didn't.
No, he didn't change the game. But none of them did.
And so he made a lot of mistakes like everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think anyone.
I'm just saying, I don't think he should have been singled out because there were some people out there saying he was the reason we.
That's an hard game, isn't it? To come on for your debut, like
that's
a hard game. That is a bloody tough game to come on, especially when you're taking out your key player as well. I think if he'd gone on beside Partey, I think then he could have played his game. But we've taken out our key player. And look, we all know, chaps. Thomas Partey gets injured, then the chances of us winning the title are pretty slim. I think.
But also, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, I think him coming into that game without Partey next to him and with a new team, like Everton were on it, weren't they? And they had that midfield free, and Onana was just like on something else. Like, geez, if we played like that every week, you'd take him all day long, wouldn't you? It was unbelievable. Horrible game to come on.
I don't think there's a midfield in the Premiership that if those three play like that every week can handle them. They're big, they're physical, and they were. And I'm just not surprised they weren't played together before, or in that system.
I want Onana drug tested, right? Because he definitely was on something, yeah. Now, fair play that he played well. He probably had the game of his life. But what we haven't said, lads, and this is the truth, Nketiah was totally cut out of the game. Totally cut out.
But he will be in them games.
Yeah,
he will be in them games. That's my concern.
Totally.
That's why I think that's where. Do you know what? I'm not saying he's not the player we should go for. But if we had someone like Calvert-Lewin up front yesterday, who we could at least get the ball to hold up to get people like Martinelli, Saka, and all that into the game. Do you know what I mean? It'd be better. And there's nothing against Nketiah, but when you're away from home, and I think we see it a bit with Man City last week as well. I think, I think he's a home player at the moment. Like at home, I think he's like the Man United game. He's brilliant for us, but you're asking him to play a totally different way away from home. And if you're struggling to get into the game as it is, I don't see Nketiah being able to be that guy at the moment that is going to kind of drag you through it. Jesus definitely will. Totally agree with you. If Jesus is there yesterday, he's taking defenders out left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he scares defenders, Liam. He scares them.
And it just baffles me when people sit there and go, well, Jesus has to come on the bench when he comes back. Come on, let's be realistic now. When Jesus comes back, he's back up front again. Eddie, pat on the back, mate, done really, really well. Do you know what I mean? Keep going. But that's your main man at the moment. And there's no way he's sitting on the bench when he comes back. Absolutely not.
Do you lads think that
he might for the first one? He might for the first one just to get that match fitness. But once he's got that first 30, 40 minutes under his belt, he's then straight in. Only just to get that match fitness and make it into him. He'll probably have 30, 45 minutes when he comes back, and then he'll go straight back as a starter. And I think that's just to make sure that he gets through the game.
Do you think we walked onto that pitch yesterday, lads, with the we're the best, that sort of attitude? We're just going to steamroll, maybe. Do you think they walked on the pitch like that and became a bit complacent?
I think we were. Yeah, I think we were 15% off our best.
Yeah. Like, I look at body language for the game. If you look in the tunnel for the game, Ben White is up like this, right? Literally like that. Just one arm, one elbow up there. I think there was complacency yesterday. I think there was definitely complacency yesterday. I think they underestimated it. We underestimated it as well. We've all come on in. Me and you said, like, we thought it was going to be a win yesterday. Do you know what I mean? I think we've all underestimated it. They've underestimated it yesterday. I don't believe when I see players like Ben White like that for the game, and then put in that kind of performance, there was definitely a bit of complacency yesterday. But do you know what, right? Sometimes you learn from a defeat. And do you know what? We'd have rather got beaten, like you said, against Everton than lose to Manchester City. That could be the big kick up the arse. And do you know what? They're going to go in that dressing room tomorrow at the training ground, yeah, right? And they know they've got away with one. They know they're back where they started at the start of the weekend. And they know that as long as they go out and beat Brentford Saturday, nothing's derailed us.
But you can't forget it either. You can't. What I mean, do you know what I mean, Bruno? If we was to beat Brentford, lads, right? You can't forget the loss against Everton because it was a glitch. You can't just go, oh yeah, we lost to them, but we've won against Brentford. You've got a mentality where, and what we've had so much this season, you've got to keep that mentality and that way of playing where it's just like we have to win every game. You know what I mean? And I think that if we beat Brentford, yeah, it's back on an even keel, but it's what we've got coming after that. But it's Man City straight after Brentford, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah. Wednesday. It's Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's 3 days after, isn't it?
Even though we haven't won against Everton, I still think that we don't fear Man City.
I think United on paper is the harder game at the moment to us. Yeah. Like, I look at Man City. I look at the defence they're playing at the moment as quite inexperienced. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could be totally wrong again, but like when I looked at the fixtures beforehand, I was more worried about the Man United game because Man United were banging form. Man City are not in form. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of issues at Man City. Cancelo leaving in the transfer window tells you, right, there's issues in that changing room at the moment, right? Pep Guardiola, I do believe, didn't come out what he come out with just to play mind games. I think he honestly believes, he thinks in his head that Arsenal are going to win the title. And I don't think he feels that he's got the backing at the moment within that change room, and the fans ain't doing what they need to be doing on a week in, week out because they've been given everything, haven't they? Yeah. They're used to it. And they ain't got the buzz or the energy like we've got at the moment. We've got everything going for us at the moment. And yeah, it was a glitch on Saturday. But do you know what? I actually think this has come at the right time for us. I actually think that. And I think if Man City had won today, I'd have been more worried about the Brentford game because how the players would have fought this out this week. But now the players can go back into training tomorrow and go. They can sit down. It will have them all calm, won't it? Go, look, poor performance. They review it, but it will say to them, "We're back where we started. We're literally back where we started at the start of the weekend. One game further in. Do you know what I mean? Now you've had your kick up the arse. Don't go to Leicester in a few weeks' time. Don't go to Aston Villa in a few weeks' time with that kind of mentality. You need to go out there and leave everything for 90 minutes. And do you know what? I think it could be a blessing yesterday. I really do now. I think sometimes you need to play proper shit. You need to play proper shit. Otherwise, you can drift through games and you think, do you know, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And like you said before the show, I'm glad it's against Everton and not Man City.
Yeah, I did say that.
I think we did that. I mean, if you remember when we were invincible, we'd won the title so early, but actually those last lot of games, we just sort of weren't at it every game, were we? So it happened.
Do you think that's our problem? Do you think that's our fan base's problem? That we always think back to the unbeatable season, and we always think that we had to be unbeaten. Do you know what I mean? Do you think this is why we should? I know, obviously, different era now, and we got some proper melts.
Yeah, I think the problem is that there are a lot of fans that don't forget the Terry Neals and the Riox, and where when we were finishing, we finished sort of 16th, 17th in the and those hard times. They've been brought up on the Wenger era, and you're fighting for titles, you're fighting for trophies, and you were always in the top four, and it sort of spoiled us, didn't it? Really,
Well,
that era.
The way I see it is, right, Arsenal has history, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. It has history, right? But the way I see it is the Invincible, to answer your question, Liam, right? The Invincible season was amazing, right?
Yeah.
But that's history now.
Yeah, of course.
It's history. It's like some Arsenal fans hold on to the Invincibles like England holds on to the 1966 World Cup. What I mean, it's like a comparison, yeah? So for me, don't get me wrong, I was there. I saw it. We were all there, we saw it. Did we not?
Yeah.
Did you all see it? I did. Yeah?
Yeah.
It was an amazing season. I tell you what, my best memory of Arsenal was when we beat Liverpool for the Championship.
Yeah.
That was my best memory of ever watching Arsenal play, right? Even though the Invincible season was amazing, right? But history now, guys. Yes, I'm not saying forget it. All I'm saying is don't hold on to it. Because it, compared to this season, as much as this may upset the chat or whoever wants to come at me, and I don't give a monkey's who comes at me, believe me when I say that, right? It's history. Let it go. Because at the end of the day, as Liam has said, it's a different era, it's a different time, it's a different Arsenal. Yeah? It's as simple as that.
It's just a reaction when we lose one game in 5 months in the Premier League. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I said about a month. Sorry, Rich. Can I just say this before you back on? I said about a month ago with Paul, right, that this team is playing better than the Invincibles. Even though the Invincibles weren't invincible, this team is actually playing better than the Invincibles because I'm enjoying the way they're playing. I'm enjoying the style. I'm enjoying the way that we, I think I said to Paul at the time, I can't remember the last time when someone scored against Arsenal and then 2 minutes later we've equalised or we've gone back in front. I can't remember the last time we've done that. So, just little things are impressing me. But it is time to let the Invincibles go. Hold it in your heart, hold it in your head, no problem. But just let it go as a comparison. And just, this team, it's a new team. We're trying something different, something new. It's like you can compare Arteta to Wenger. You can't do it. It's totally different times. Live for the moment. Don't live in the past. Treasure the past, but don't live in it.
Yeah, I think we had it in the WhatsApp group as well, where people are sort of losing their heads. We've lost to City. We've lost to Everton. And I think you take the two results in totally different context. I mean, we've made 6 changes to the City game, and we didn't play poorly against City. We just defensively turned off at one moment, and we haven't. I don't know about you guys, but I can't really remember a game this season where we've really had a poor game. Maybe Leeds. Maybe Leeds. I think is probably the only game where we were poor performance wise, and we were lucky to get the result. But even at Old Trafford, when we lost, I thought we were better. We played the better game. It was just we're poor in the final third and poor defensively. But performance-wise,
I think we're outworked.
We should have got something out of that game.
If we're talking about like the difference between all the other games and in those two games, they're probably the only two teams where we've been out. I wouldn't say Leeds out muscled us, but the athleticism of how they were in the press and everything like that, they kind of surpassed us, and the way they were flying around, obviously in their home stadiums. You know what I mean? We struggled to cope with it, and we know obviously what happened, obviously, but we weren't exactly turned over on yesterday. But as I say, it's a set piece that we got done with, but I think we could have played probably for another hour and a half, and probably we wouldn't have seen ourselves score either.
That's a fair point, that Paul.
Yeah, well, you look at it, and you just saw those ones where we had those chances, the cutbacks, and every single player that he did. I think we had about 3 attempts with 3 different players, and all 3 skied the chance, and it's like, well, I just don't think.
Odegaard skied one as well, didn't he?
Odegaard was the one which was the only time that Nketiah had come out wide and took on the overlap, and then he got past Colburn and then cut back the ball, and it was just like, just someone just keep their heads and get the ball on target, and sadly it wasn't for us, but that's it. All done and dusted. Don't care about it now.
Move on, as they say, innit?
Move on. I'm going to go into the chat quickly, and I'd like to just say, a big up to Harry's brother, Niall Kane, in the house. And, So, the Gooner scored against City. So, just like to
There he is.
And,
but Tottenham fans, Paul, say that he supports Tottenham now. He never supported Arsenal. That's low.
He's never supported Arsenal. He doesn't know.
There's the proof.
And Paddy's tweet was quite funny early on. I was trying to locate it, and it was all a bit. It was another little Spursy comment. There you go. Harry Kane breaking the all-time Tottenham goal scoring record by inadvertently helping Arsenal to maintain their lead in the title is magnificently Spursy. So there you go. It's thanks, Harry, and don't score anymore. But I never wanted Tottenham to win. Just to let everyone know, I just wanted City to lose. Okay,
Same here. I'm on that. Yeah. I just wanted City to lose, and I want them to lose next week as well, and the week after that.
Yeah, John the Gooner. Evelyn Gooners give Harry Kane a knighthood. Leave it out.
Leave it out, geezer.
Don't forget that missed penalty against France.
Yeah.
I've got 50 messages off my half brother.
It still hasn't come out of orbit, that penalty, has it?
Didn't you see that comment go across the screen? The old the green kind of like meteor or something like that come across. I think that was the ball. It's come around again.
Yeah, I got 50 messages off my half brother. He's a City fan. He's in meltdown. Each one's like that.
I'd love to see a few of the Man City fans' faces who were trying to give it a big one when we were coming out of the stadium on last Friday.
I'm going to message him. Why did City lose? I haven't seen it. I wasn't.
Ange's in the house. Any other moderators coming on? As I've a women's match to watch. Yeah, about to start very soon against West Ham. So hopefully it's a good one, Ange.
Oh wait, he'll blow a gasket.
Lads, who was your player of the month? Just before you crack on, Paul, who would you have as your player of the month?
What, for Arsenal?
Yeah.
Last month.
Yeah.
What was last month? Oh, okay.
I think just for his performance alone.
January, yeah. It's January. So.
Just for his performance alone against Man United, Zinchenko, mate. Fucking unbelievable performance.
Yeah, I'd agree. Is Zinchenko, is he a midfielder or is he a left back? I can't.
Don't think no one knows, do they?
Poor Tierney must be well annoyed.
Yeah, I even thought yesterday, right? Like he don't even get considered now, does he, Tierney? Like he's obviously definitely going to be off in the summer.
I hope not. But yeah,
I think he will, mate. I just think he's at that age where he has to play. He has to play games, don't he?
Yeah.
Like he ain't going to sit around and sit on the bench for us. No way. We'll probably make a decent bit of wedge on him as well. But it is a shame because I really like Tierney, but the way Arteta's system is, obviously it's Zinchenko, isn't it? And you can't argue with it when he pulls that performances like what he did against Man United, mate.
Sorry, Paul. Carry on with the chat, mate. I do apologise.
No, it's all right. You can talk amongst yourselves. It's fine. Yeah. Go on. What?
Because of the chat, and I've noticed that English Conversation Club's in here. Can I do me weekly and me weekly 1 to 2, like?
Go on, if you want to, yeah, go on.
English. I don't know if your mum's watching this week, but Sue, in case you watch this later or you're watching this now, hello, hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. Come on, you Gunners. That was crack on.
All right, there you go. Sorry, this is just a weekly greeting service. So I think he's making a wedge out of it. So I don't know, it's something.
Don't worry, if I do make a wedge out, Paul, if I make a wedge out of it, you get a cup, mate. Don't worry about that.
Oh dear. Yes. And so even English and the women getting more into the game. Has anyone got the game up? Have they?
Yeah, I've got it on there. Should have had a penalty, West Ham, by the looks of it.
How long into the game?
40 minutes, 0-0.
Yeah, okay.
You can tell that we're missing all our forwards.
Yeah, because they're all in,
Totally,
didn't they? Because
Wiedemar's we tried to get the lady from Man United, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, world record bid, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 500 grand or so, wasn't it?
She's a good little player.
Yeah, it was.
She's a good little player.
Yeah. But United were never going to sell in that.
Not when they're top of the league. It's like, but it still will affect anyone like that, wouldn't it? There's, any kind of team, when you lose those kind of players, you're going to struggle. One other thing I was going to say, Zinchenko as well. Going back to the game, and 2 games he's been again. Obviously, the Man City game at the end of the game, it was very animated, wasn't it? As well. See those videos of him with the City players. He seemed really wound up. I think it was more to be with one of his ex-teammates trying to get him sent off. He got booked, didn't he? And then he went in for another tackle, and then someone's thrown himself to the floor. And he kind of lost his head a bit. And it happened again at the end of the thing. And you just saw Arteta pulling him or just shoving him down the tunnel.
Oh, he did, didn't he? I saw that. Yeah.
Wondering whether or not
he wasn't happy with Mopé, and you can't blame him. I mean, it was more like a judo toss, wasn't it?
Oh, it was just very just horrible.
But Mopé,
that's all. Is Mopé a word? Could we get it added to the dictionary?
Let's delete it.
Just the definition of Mopé, just horrible.
You know how people with Xhaka, he who shall not be. Still Arsenal fans saying he who shall not be named, and that's their prerogative, right? So we should do the same with the lad from Everton, he who shall not be named, because he don't deserve airtime. Do you know what I mean? But when's a sending off? When's a sending off not a sending off? That's definitely a case in point yesterday, isn't it? With the Zinchenko thing. What's in these referees' manuals? For they actually believe their own rules. Because sometimes it just, I don't just mean this for Arsenal, I just mean this for football in general. I just don't think of, follow their own rules.
one big show, isn't it? This whole kind of refereeing, officiating, VAR, everything about what should be making the game better to watch, and lack of errors just seems to be creating more and more grey areas and more talking points, which is just not what it should be there for. Even that Man United game yesterday with Casemiro getting sent off, and I don't know if you saw obviously putting his hands up on the guy's neck. Obviously, admittedly, you might say, "Oh yeah, he hasn't tried to strangle him or literally pick him up like Jason." And just literally holding him up off the ground, but it's a sending off at the end of the day. It's just really weird.
Did we deserve a penalty yesterday, Paul? You know when Gabriel's heel got clipped in the area?
Again, you don't see multiple angles on it. They only showed the one where it only showed him in the corner, which then kind of went across. And then they're saying that he's engineered the contact. And it's like, well, how's he engineered the contact? But I don't think I saw multiple angles of it. I think I only saw
I think the problem with that is that outside, if it's outside the area, it's given. But they're not going to give that inside the area.
But it was a foul.
Yeah, but it's one of those that they'll tell you that you'll get it outside the box, but you won't get it inside the box, which is ridiculous. But that's it. It's a way that they think, and I'm not sure why I didn't ask the ref to have a second look at that, because it was worth a second look. And even if he decided it wasn't a penalty after that, because there was definite contact, it was just a case of whether you thought there was enough contact for it to be a penalty.
Well, and he shall not be named against Zinchenko, right? I'm sure I've seen that move in the UFC. You know what I mean? Yeah, mate. Power. You might as well have picked him up and power bombed him.
I think I've seen Stone Cold. I've seen your half brother Stone Cold do that in the ring.
Yeah, but that's the bottom line, because he said so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're really trying to keep away from giving penalties, isn't they? VAR. We noticed that, it's kind of
clear and obvious, or like a
and what is, no one knows what clear and obvious is, because I remember the Aston Villa game last year. Was it last year when Lacazette got that penalty just on the verge of half time?
Yeah.
Where VAR come into play, and I've seen that about 6 times over, and then I've only seen us given it once. So no one really knows what version of clear and obvious is.
It's all individuals.
Sometimes I think they listen to the commentary and will go with what the commentary says at times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They've got it in the other ear, haven't they, Liam?
Yeah. Once Gary Neville sits there and goes, "No, that ain't a penalty. It ain't a penalty."
Gary Neville says it ain't a penalty, right? Ref, it's not a penalty.
Or if Gary Neville goes, "Oh, what has he done?" It's all right. Yeah, penalty. Yeah.
But no one knows what clear and obvious is, do they, anymore?
Maybe Carragher on there goes, oh no.
And you know what? On the big screens now, instead of saying no penalty or whatever, it should say Gary Neville says it's not a penalty.
But I think it just makes it into such an individual. It's another decision by someone else, not in the stadium, and it's their viewpoint on that. So it's their interpretation of something. So there's no clear and obvious. There's no, you know what I mean? It's all interpretation, and this is where it's madness, because for one bar with another ref is someone else's other bar, and it just makes no sense, and they've made a mockery of it. I think it must be just like an England thing.
Richard Keane says no penalty, so it's not a penalty.
I don't even know what the hairy-handed guys said about this week. He must have said. He must have said something about us losing. He must have come out and said something.
I bet he was gutted this evening. I bet he's got a bed with right on this evening.
Yeah. I wonder if he actually said anything about Dyche. the way he was acting and ranting and raving, because obviously he's been very vocal about Arteta. And you saw him just like, he's really scouring in here, just on the sideline, shouting it out and really, really aggressive on the touchline. You're suddenly thinking, well, I bet he didn't say boo to Goose for him. Doesn't say he's offended, does he?
Oh, he'd be scared because Sean Dyche beat him up, wouldn't he?
Yeah, probably would, yeah.
But whenever other manager does it, apart from Arteta, it's passion. You know, when Arteta does it, it's antagonising. So just make your own mind up. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a weird obsession now, isn't it? Like you said, we seen Jurgen Klopp run on the pitch in the 95th minute. We seen Pep Guardiola do what he has to do. We've seen it from everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like Mourinho, and it's interesting. Isn't it? The only person I've ever seen get pulled up and sent off for kicking a water bottle was an Arsenal manager.
Yeah, even back in the day of Ferguson, he used to jump on the pitch.
Yeah.
Did you see Klopp's post-match interview after where he told an interviewer he wasn't going to answer the question? He said, "If you ask the same question, I'll answer it from you."
Yeah.
Allegedly, though, that reporter spoke about his family and his sexuality and all that.
I didn't hear. I heard the question and I didn't hear anything about that. It was a straight, simple question. Did you think your tactics, your cool.
You could say that about the Arteta interview as well, couldn't you? Before Everton, right? Because there was someone from a certain radio show, who said, "What excuses are you going to use?" Blah blah blah. Yeah, and he just laughed and went, "Excuses." It absolutely just cut the fella off. Absolutely just made him look like a stupid idiot. Did you see that? Did you guys
miss
see
that one?
I missed it. Yeah.
He genuinely went, "Excuses? What excuses?" And he just like the way he looked at him, the bloke just clammed up and shut up. But he's from that stupid radio show that have idiots on. Yeah, who just want to rip pieces off of.
Talk Sport.
Yes, there's other radio shows.
Was it Jamie O'Hara?
No, it wasn't actually. No. But he's one of their reporters who go to the press conferences, because it said before he asked this question, he said whatever his name was from Talk Sport, and he was going, "Oh, how do you feel about the signings?" I'm very happy with the signings. I've done what we've filled places that we need to fill and all this stuff. And he went, "So if you lose against Everton and Man City win against Tottenham, are you going to use excuses?" He started laughing, and he went, "Excuses? What excuses? We don't need to use excuses." And then the lad whoever calls out the people for these press conferences just moved on to the next person. And I just thought, fair play, Arteta. He don't like letting anything out, does he really? He keeps his cards very close to his chest. Yeah. I thought that's how you play an interviewer who's trying to be an actor.
It is interesting because I think he conducts himself really well.
Yeah.
Arteta, don't you? Kind of interviews. And then you look at someone like old hairy man Richard Keys, and you think, you do sit there, don't you? Sit there and you think, what is your actual beef with him? Like, where does this come from? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's like he goes into interviews and all that, or he comes out after and all that. Do you know what I mean? He does what any other manager does. Like, no manager's going to be. If you've got a manager who's a good loser, you want him out of the club, really, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Imagine if Arteta was like Mourinho when he first walked in. I am champion.
Oh, could you imagine, mate? Can you imagine?
Oh, mate, yeah. But Richard Keys, he supports Coventry, doesn't he? That says it all, doesn't it?
Didn't know that. I didn't know that as
Liam, I only found it out the other day. Apparently, he supports Coventry, so that basically just bitter and twisted and
Coventry.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, he's got nothing to be happy about, then, has he?
Not really.
Has he? No.
Didn't they build a new stadium and they had to come out of it or something?
Yeah, couldn't pay the rent. Yeah.
They couldn't pay the rent. That's it.
Pay the ground fees, could they? No, yeah.
I did see something the other day that cracked me up though. He was getting a plane back, weren't he? And they made him go on British Airways. or something like that, and he right pissed him off. He put a complaint on Twitter, and you could imagine he put that complaint in, people were just roasting him left, right, and centre. Like, why would you do it, mate? Why would you do it?
I'd send him on an EasyJet. I would. All right there.
Exactly, mate. Oh, we wouldn't put him on an EasyJet, mate.
Yeah.
Get him in a hot air balloon.
I'd have stuck him on a one-winged plane and just said, yeah.
I sent him up in a glider without any thermals. See how you land. Boom, had it.
Oh dear. So guys, last one about the transfer window. Obviously, what were your final thoughts on the business we did in the transfer window, and is it enough? Go on, Des, as you're trying to come.
Right. No. Oh, you can let someone else go if you want first.
That's all right. You were appearing straight in. I thought you was going to come out.
He was like a jockey ready to go.
I was just getting myself comfortable, actually. Sorry. Right. Okay. Let's sum it up quickly. Right. So, let's see. Absolutely happy with. I think we said this last week, Paul. Absolutely happy with Trossard. Think he'll suit the Arsenal way of playing. Still needs a bit of time to work out what he needs to do. I can't wait to see this Polish kid, the Jacob, whatever he's called.
Jacob, yeah.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not very good with names. I keep getting them messed up, don't I?
Yeah.
But
it is
for going on what I've heard,
it's only because I've got a Polish friend. That's all.
Oh, you want to keep that to yourself, mate. But but I've heard that he's breaking all the records at Arsenal. He's meant to be this absolute superstar. So here's to the future. Casado. We were never going to get Casado. Never in a million. If someone turns around, if you go in for a player, right? Someone turns around to you and says, "We're not selling." Not selling. They even turned around to Chelsea and said, "Look, we're not selling." Even though the lad went on strike and he did all he wanted to do before I get to Arsenal. They weren't. You could have turned up with 200 million, and they still would have said they're not selling him. And I know Geezer, if he's still in here, I know he says money and all that, and everybody's got their price, but we weren't going to sell him. We weren't going to get him, so we ended up with Jorginho. My only concern with Jorginho, I'm actually happy with it, right? Because my thought process at the time when it happened was, if you need to slow the game down, you can take the party off, give him a rest, and Jorginho slow the game down for you. I was also told that Jorginho can pass the ball, but yeah, we've got to see that, right? It's not a bad sign. It's only 18 months. If it don't work out, you just let him go. But the thing is as well, I'm just fed up of being Chelsea's retirement home. That's if anything annoys me about it, it's being Chelsea's retirement home. You know, that's what I don't like about it. But the signings we've actually had, the two main ones and Jorginho, they're all right for a purpose. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you very much, Paul. Next.
Chelsea retirement home. Oh.
Well, it is, isn't it?
He's not a bad retirement player, is he? He's not probably one of our worst ones.
No, he's got potential. He's got potential, you know. But Willian, the lad couldn't run.
He started to run now.
Where he's got no choice. He's got family to feed and bills to pay, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Plus it's West London.
Richard,
yeah, he couldn't handle the air.
What are your thoughts on the window, Richard?
I was reasonably happy. I mean, you look at Trossard, he can come in for any along those front three. So it's adding quality and strength there. Kiavor, we don't know about. He's young. He's got talent, and we'll have to see how he develops. Jorginho, you're looking at our other options on the bench as Lokonga and down then is back up to Partey. He's an immediate upgrade on those two.
But he's not a like for like, though, is he?
He's not a like for like, but he's still. If you've got to go three games without Partey, Who would you rather have, Lokonga or Jorginho? I'm going to Jorginho all day long. Because at least he'll do the job, and he knows how to do the job. He might not be the best, and he's got his weaknesses, but Lokonga's not a defensive midfielder, so and to ask him to do a job like that is asking for trouble. So whereas Jorginho, I think he's got 21 interceptions this season, and to be honest, that's being in the poor Chelsea side. So he's not too bad. Okay, we know the deficiencies in the game, but if you can hide those and you can mask those deficiencies within the team, and you accentuate his strengths, I think we've got enough to come off a bench for Partey, and this is what it's about. It's about managing Partey's minutes and making sure he gets up to 30 games this season at least, because he's not. In the two previous seasons, he's only managed 24 games. It's 18 and 6, and I think it was 20 and 4 was of these 2 seasons he's had. So he's never had more than 24 games for us so far, and so that's something we've got to try and manage.
That's why I call you the stat man, Richard.
Because let's be honest, that is probably the one area of the pitch we're seriously deficient. I think we could lose. I think you can lose Saliba. I think you can lose Zinchenko and White, and still have a decent back four. You could lose. Right, Tierney's not isn't a bad left back. Tomiyasu isn't a bad right back, and you can put White or Holding into the into Saliba's position for 2 or 3 games. I think you get away with that. Any longer than that, then you might be. But last season we lost Tierney, we lost Partey, and we lost Tomiyasu. That was our season over. This season, if you lost the 3 positions, I think the fullbacks you've got to cover Zinchenko and White, Tomiyasu and Tierney are good enough to get us results away from home, and you can put in Jorginho there, and he'll do a job for 2 or 3 games. I think we're stronger than last season. I still think we need Partey, especially in the big games. And we got 3 big away games. We got Chelsea, we got Newcastle away, we got Liverpool away, and we got City away. And they're massive games for us this season.
So you put us having a bad season last season, losing basically.
I think we lost. I think we get Burnley game where we drew. That cost us. You could look at that as costing us. You could have looked at the Brighton 0-0, but away from home we just 9 wins away from home.
Do you not think we needed a striker as well? Was that a big part of why we didn't do well last season? Would you not?
You lost probably our defensive stalwarts. Who did we have? Look at who we had come in. We had Tavares over, and who did we have? Suarez, the right back, and then we didn't. And that's no offence to Tavares and Suarez. They're not Tierney and Tomiyasu, are they?
That's true. That is true. Do that.
Yeah, and no offence to Al Nini, he's not Jorginho. He's a decent player, and he can get you through 20-30 minutes in the game. But if you're asking him to do that for a run of games, which we did have to ask him to do it because Park's out, it didn't help. And as I said, I mean, there were other games that cost us a season, like the Burnley 0-0 at home. But if you're looking to get yourself over the line, you want your best players available. You want your strongest squad available, and I don't think we had the squad last season to do that. But that was down to them saying we're not in Europe, so we don't need as much of a bigger squad. So we'll only go with 18 players. That was their mistake. That cost them, and not making that January edition, whether it been a striker, whether it been another midfielder, they died by that. This January, we said 2 would minimum, 3 would be the ideal. I didn't expect a left centre back. I expected another forward, to be honest. But it strengthens a position, the centre back position we didn't have cover for, really, in Gabriel. So we've now got choices. If you look across that back line, Tommy Asu can play anywhere across that back line. Cheney can play left back or centre back. Ben White can play right back, centre back. Saliba can play either side of the centre backs. So we've got plenty of depth in that position now, and with this key of all, he played his the season before last, when he was at Spezia, he played as defensive midfielder, and that was because I think it was, I can't remember, I think it was Gattuso or somebody who was put him in there because they had no bodies in there. So he can play defensive midfield, he's played left midfield, and he plays left centre back. So he can cover 3 positions as well. And if you notice, what they've done with a lot of this squad is cover multiple positions. They've got players that are not necessarily specialists in any one, but can play multiple positions very well. So I think we've got cover there. It's just we all wanted Casido because to be honest, he's a big unit. I don't think he's a party replacement. He's more of a box to box, but he's definitely a beast. And if you're going for somebody to dominate a midfield, you want a bit of a beast in there to dominate it, to impose himself on the game. And I think that's unfortunately what Lokonga didn't do enough of it. Technically very good, but just hasn't got that physical stature to impose himself on the game yet. That will come, I think. I mean, he's going to probably the best place to go in the window. I was upset with that because I'm thinking you brought Jorginho in to strengthen an area we haven't got many numbers in, and then you let Lokonga go without any injured. Surely we need a third body in there, unless he's thinking Smith Rowe could be a Xhaka replacement, but that's dodgy. So for me, it was a 6 out of 5 for that reason. You bought one in and
6 out of 5. Do you mean 6 out of 10, mate?
6.5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just not quite enough.
What was your rating, Des? Was it a what
Oh, sorry, 10? Did I not give you a rating?
No,
I apologise. Yeah, I'd go 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
It's better. We had a 3 out of 10 on the group, didn't we?
Yeah, that was Colin. Yeah. He was he was extremely harsh, but that's fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's just, I think it needs a bit of context.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna hear from the smug one now.
Go on, Smuggy.
What were your thoughts then,
I'll be
Liv?
right back.
Yeah, we obviously didn't get the player that we wanted in midfield. So what we've done is we've done the safety assurance in terms of getting Jorginho in, just to obviously legislate if an injury happens for the rest of the season, in my opinion, for Partey, which is the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Because there was no one who could play the role, and obviously Elneny not fit. Lukonga, for me, not good enough at the moment. Hopefully going to Crystal Palace now will kind of give him the minutes he needs, and then we'll see if there is a player in there, because I'm sure there's something, because obviously you don't get bigged up by players like Kompany and Henry for nothing. So hopefully that would do him good. But I just think with the Jorginho signing, I think it's just for this season, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
We know if Thomas Partey stays fit, that Thomas Partey and Xhaka will stay on the centre midfield. And if that happens, we've got a great chance of winning the title. Do you know what I mean? But we also know, like, in years gone by, we lost to Thomas Partey or we lost to Kieran Tierney at left back, we was absolutely screwed, which has basically cost us for the last 2 years in terms of Champions League football. So we've kind of replaced that this year with Zinchenko. And I think what we've done is we can't get the guy from Brighton. I don't blame the club yet again. I think the club are right. Like they were right with the Mudryk deal. Like there's a value and then there's a piss take. And unfortunately now we're stuck in a situation. If Chelsea come in, every club's going to chuck a premium on it. And that's a dangerous game that Chelsea are creating now in terms of the transfer window. And if they go in for players, like, I don't know where it ends, if I'm being totally honest with you. So, like, in the summer, when apparently we're going in for Declan Rice, you can rest assured that they're going to go in for Declan Rice as well. So they go in for Declan Rice. West Ham know now. A £70 million bid turns into a £100 million bid just by them being in there. So we're stuck in that situation at the moment, and you can't then just demand that you want Edu out just because he's not going to pay £100 million for a player that's played in the Ukrainian league. You can't blame him for not wanting to pay £100 million for a geezer who's playing for Brighton, if we're being totally honest. So I think they've done the right thing to announce the summer, because whether we got that 70-minute Casado in, he wouldn't have started. He wouldn't have started this season. Do you know what I mean? He'd have been on the bench. If an injury happens, he'd have come on. So we've got our team for this year. We get to the end of the season now. If we win the league, then it's all happy days, isn't it? Like, we've done enough. If we don't win the league, then unfortunately we come a cropper somewhere. But I think if we keep Thomas Partey fit now, and I agree that we've got to get him through games, but unfortunately we need Thomas Partey for 90 minutes every game. It's proven in the last 2 games. Thomas Partey goes off injured or goes off, we lose the game. It's factual. It's sitting there. It's staring us in the face. And the geezer's so important. Like, he's so important. And we just need to get to the stage now where we can play him every single game now to the end of the season. We don't want him going off. He's the only player, really, that we don't want going off. He's a key player that we don't want going off. Like you said, we've literally got ready replacements everywhere else if there's injuries. Do you know what I mean? We're pretty much set up in terms of there's injuries. We've got someone to replace someone. But I just feel even with Jorginho at the moment, it's a good signing just in case something does happen. But if Partey does get injured, I struggle to see us. I'll be honest with you, I struggle to see us winning the league, and that's my issue. But if he stays fit, then I don't see why we can't win the league.
Liam, there's 2 players. Well, in all fairness, we should be protecting all our players, right? But there's 2 players in our team that protect him. One of them's Partey, because I'll be honest, I've never been Partey's biggest fan. I don't think he lived up to the hype. I've got to be honest with you. But this season he's flipped me round. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're always saying that Saka needs protecting, and Partey needs the same protection as well.
Yeah.
Because they're both instrumental in this team. Okay. Odegaard, that midfield now, Odegaard, I mean, me and Paul talked about Xhaka quite a lot, right? But Odegaard, Xhaka, and Partey, they're boss, mate. They're boss. There's no better midfield. Well, till yesterday, no better midfield in the Premier League at the moment. They are absolutely boss in that midfield. So, but each player of them 3 brings something different. So, you know, Partey's slow the ball down, do a good pass.
Each other, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. They complement each other, and that's why I think it's working so well. But Xhaka's a machine. Doesn't get hardly ever gets injured, right? Odegaard sees a pass like no one else sees the pass. And he loves all his little intricacies as well, which sometimes can get him in trouble. That's why he didn't have such a good game yesterday. He was trying to be too intricate, and he didn't work out. Yeah, but when them three are on their game with Martinelli and Saka down the wings, because I rate them two kids the same, to be honest with you, right? Them three midfielders are boss. There's no one who can boss them three about. No one. And yesterday, as we've said, was an off day. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. But I've got to say, I know he's injured, so it's hypothetical, but I would take El Neni over Jorginho at the moment, only because, right, we've got to show the boy some loyalty, because he's shown it to us. Yeah? He can score bangers, and Jack has taught him how to pass the ball forwards. So they're all positive.
I think the only problem with him is we don't know. Like, I agree. If he not got injured, would we have gone out and brought someone? I don't know. I don't know if we would have gone out and brought someone. Yeah. If I'm being totally honest, I think Jorginho's good because I think what he'll do is right, and I do agree what Richard was saying. Like, if we're playing, just say we're playing Leeds at home, and we're 3-0 up with like 20 minutes to go. You can take Partey off then, can't you? You say, look, that's it, mate. You're done. Yeah. You're done for this game. Do you know what I mean? Any game at home that we're in a comfortable lead, like. I know we sit there and go, what's comfortable? But a comfortable lead, like with like 20 minutes to go, you sit there and think, do you know what? Bring Jorginho on, he'll slow the game down now. So I think from that perspective, it is a good signing. And he'll play in the UEFA Cup. We don't need Partey to play in the UEFA Cup whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? We're basically going to sacrifice the UEFA Cup if we're being totally honest. I'll be very surprised if we got to the semi-finals because I think we're going to put our eggs in the Premier League basket, which is the right thing to do. But you just obviously said another name there, Saka as well, and you're right because if Saka goes down, Saka probably is just like even yesterday. I thought he was out. I actually thought he was probably our best outlet still yesterday. Even though he had a bang average game, he was still our best outlet. And like I know Reece Nelson come in and scored the 2 goals against Forest, but it's totally different, isn't it? He's been injured as well, so it's totally different. And that is probably the other spot where you sit there and you go, "Whoa, do you know what?" But I think if that potentially happened, it wouldn't surprise me if Jesus is back, if he tries to accommodate Jesus and Nketiah into the same team potentially. I don't know. It depends what the game depends. What
just for game is. Just for thing, I mean, Saka has played season. He played 20 games and had eight across all 28 across all season. Competitions in his first season. He had 30 in his second season across all competitions. Then he had 43 last year, 5 this year. So he's reasonably low, but you still a risk that you don't because your options are Nelson, Vieira, Trossard, and Smith Rowe to take that position. You could have Jesus when he's fit.
You're probably looking into Richard. Like when we go to the Europa Cup here, right? It's going to be Trossard, Vieira, Nelson, and Nketiah in it, and then he's going to play. Like that's probably the only time where Xhaka will probably still continue to play because, like we said, he's the machine. And is there really anyone else at the moment? I can't really think there's anyone. Obviously, Smith Rowe as well. I've no doubt. Like
he has experimented with Smith Rowe there, hasn't he?
Yeah,
but so I don't think he offers the same.
But Saka and Partey,
suppose he could
be planned. Yeah. Saka and Partey. Sorry, mate. Yeah, Saka and Partey. I wouldn't even be leave them on the bench in the UEFA Cup games, but just don't start them. Do you know what I mean? Them two players. Would you put
Zinchenko in Partey's position? Would you put Zinchenko in Partey's position?
No.
And then put him in. Put Jorginho in Partey's, and then Zinchenko in Xhaka's.
No. Right? This is what I was going to say now. Stop trying to steal me thunder, Richard, or I'm coming for you, right? No, I'm joking. Right. What I would try in one of the European matches is give Xhaka give him an off, yeah? Zinchenko for Xhaka, Tierney at the back. That's what I would do. Because what I also think, even though he's a left back, right? He's always when do you see him out of midfield. It's very rare, isn't it? So I think this is the thing with Zinchenko. I think if you wanted to give Xhaka a night off, you put Zinchenko in and you play Tierney. Even in the Premiership, you could do that. Yeah? Now, you've got Partey, who's obviously going to be replaced by Jorginho. But then you've also got Odegaard, who could be replaced by two players. Emil Smith-Rowe, yeah, and Fabio Vieira. Yeah? So, even though we're playing so well, and I know, and I've said it in the past, and I'm guilty of it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe sometimes you do need to have a bit of a shuffle around to see how things go. Do you know what I mean, Les? So what I would actually, Richard, you're not wrong in what you're saying, by the way. I'm just, it's just another option. Tierney at the back, Zinchenko, yeah, Jorginho, and either, if he's fit, Emil Smith-Rowe and Fabio Vieira. There are your absolute where you could, and I still think the game would flow in a Premier League game with them guys in them positions. Because you know that Tierney's a more defensive player than Zinchenko. Yeah? You know Zinchenko can play in the midfield. Yeah? And same again with the other two players. If you really, really wanted to give the boss 3 a night off, that's how I would do it.
I suppose that's the only reason, right, that you maybe would say like Lokonga was a little bit of a risk. Like, I think for his development, it's the right move, but we potentially could have done with him still being around the club for kind of UEFA into kind of maybe even like starting games. Do you know what I mean? Especially depends who you get. We don't know who we're going to get in the first leg, do we? We don't know who we're going to draw. If we get a nice side of the draw, then you pretty much play your second team, wouldn't you? But I just think that there's key players there that now where we're going into this title running that you don't want to risk out. And like Partey was a risk playing against Man City away, but I get why Arteta had to do it in that game. Arteta couldn't go to Man City. If that was any other game than Man City, Partey don't start that game because it was Man City and we couldn't afford to get smashed up by them. Was the only reason he had to play them. But now, don't play Partey in any other game unless you're talking about a UEFA Cup semi-final, second leg, or a UEFA Cup final, which will be after the season anyway. Unless you desperately need him, do not start him whatsoever. And I'd probably go, Saka I'd leave on the bench and you just use him if you need him. You just don't start these players. Like, we're going to get Champions League football anyway. That is what the UEFA League's all about, is to get into the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. We all want to see us win in Europe again. It's been a beg, but it's been awful for us.
And this is my reason why I like Jorginho as an option. You're in the quarter-final, semi-final, or final. You've got you're 0-0, 10 minutes to go to end of time, and you're looking at extra time and penalty. Jorginho's the guy to bring on. He's penalties for his penalties. I can't remember him missing one, and he's a good penalty. Yeah, and to see that out of those games and give you a guaranteed penalty at the end of the game is always a good way to go.
The problem you got,
Liam, that's why I think he's a good addition.
The problem you got, Liam, and what you just said, right, mate, and I understand where you're coming from, and I touched on this before the show, but the UEFA Cup, right? Yeah. Last 16, he's going to want to play his top team because you're going up against harder opponents as well, aren't you? Do you think that might be the problem? Because as much as I say, like in the early stages, play the B team, for want of better words. But in the last 16, do you not think he'll play the number one team?
Depends. Nah, I don't. I don't see it whatsoever. I don't. And if it was Champions League, 100%. But
no, I get that.
He's going to get into a chat. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm 100% with you. I want to win the UEFA League. I want to win it. Of course, we want to win it. We want to win in Europe. Like, we're favourites for it, even though I don't see us as favourites because the situation we're in, and I know what we're going to probably play for most of the time. But no, I don't see him playing the first team whatsoever. I think But do you know what? You look at the reserve team. You have Turner in goal. He's done nothing wrong. I think he's been pretty sound.
Sound lad.
Tommy
I
Asu.
thought the City game was his best game by far.
Yeah.
I thought.
Tommy Asu right back, mate, that's no issue. Tierney left back, that's no issue. Do you know what I mean? Centre backs is where they're probably like, do you know what I mean? But Rob Holding is not going to be coming up against Haaland, do you know what I mean? So he probably will play Holding. I don't know what he'll do with the centre backs. I think he'll play one experienced one. Or he could just go Holding and the Polish guy to start with, depending how he feels. Then I look at the midfield and he'll play Jorginho, and it wouldn't surprise me if he then, depending on the team, I think he'll still play a Xhaka. I still think he'll go a Xhaka in there because he's a machine, like you said. He'll still go a Xhaka, and then he's got the flexibility then with Smith Rowe, Vieira, Nelson, Nketiah. Do you know what I mean? And that's pretty solid. And then you have all the stars on the bench, so if you need them, then they can come on.
Yeah, I get you. I respect what you're saying. I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
you know
got to win the Premier League, mate. Got to win the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Got to keep the key players fit. Got to keep the key players fit.
Without a shadow of doubt. I mean, for example, guys, we're buying players for the future as well. Let me give you an example. Odegaard, right? We're buying him for 30 million, right? What's he worth now?
100,
if you're going on Chelsea prices, yeah? Exactly.
Over 120 then.
Exactly. What about Saka?
Oh, he's 120, 150, isn't he?
Easy. But if you say that out loud, other fans from other clubs think you're mental.
Well, mate, if Mudryk's worth 100 million, yeah, right. Let's be honest. If Mudryk at this moment in time is worth 100 million, Paul, you tell us, what's Saka worth then? If he's worth 100 million,
yeah.
I'm going to say if Saka signs this contract, 5 years, the 4 or 5 year contract, and then say a year later, then suddenly says someone comes in for him, that's where you've obviously got that value, haven't you?
Yeah. 150 million plus if Mudryk at the moment is 100 million.
We're in all the territory, aren't we?
What you've also got to remember is what Chelsea have done, the players like Nketiah going from 20 million, they're now being pushed up into that 40 million bracket. Because
guys, have you not also noticed as well how much money Arsenal have saved? Martinelli, we got him cheap, yeah? Nketiah's a North End boy, isn't he? Or whatever.
Yeah. And you've got Balogun as well to come back as well.
Yeah. Right.
And Patino.
Our front row, Our front row is worth a mint now, and we didn't hardly pay anything for them. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, what I'm wondering is, and I'm going slightly off track here, but Modric got given an 8.5 year contract on it, or was it 8 years? 8.5?
It was roughly 8 years. It might have been 8.5. Yeah.
An 8 year contract, right? The poor kid's in prison. Yeah, he's got a prison sentence at Chelsea. He don't even look happy, right? Does that? If I'm right, would the get me words right? Would the fair play rules come into play here because they're offering 8 year contracts?
No, because at the moment they're all legal. It's what FIFA are changing the maximum.
So they found a loophole and they're refusing.
Will be 5 years. Yeah, it was a loophole. But let's be honest.
Is this why they're doing what they're doing now then?
Yeah.
So before they put this into play.
Yeah.
So they found a loophole, Richard, and they're abusing it.
Yeah, it's perfectly legal. It's perfectly legal, and it might be immoral.
I was asking.
Yeah, it might be immoral, and you can think, but you can, and they're going to do what City have done. He's looking at buying European clubs up and taking the best talent from these other clubs around the world. So he's following pretty much Sheikh Mansour. All he's done is he's trumped in that first year. He said they've looked at it. Somebody very clever has looked at it and said, look, rules are changing. Go out now, do this quick, and then you won't have to spend as much next year and the year after, but you're possibly building your value of your club, depending on whether there's a risk to it because these players might not work out.
Yeah. I can't see Arsenal ever giving out an 8 year contract.
No,
Nah.
It's It's a way. It was a way round it, and it's something you've got.
It's all born on the way the accounting side of things is done, and the value in amortization. It's just drawn on a flat line going down across the contract.
Right,
It's great. It's great that obviously but it's one of those. If it'd be like a Pepe or something like that. You know what I mean? If you did that and then signed him on an 8-year contract, his value would go like that. But then if he's had a real bad season or an injury, then that value's obviously gone bang. So rather than you're reporting him as being up here, his value's well down. So that's the only way it could potentially go totally awry.
And that squashes the market then, doesn't it? It destroys the market.
Well,
they're destroying the market anyway, ain't they? Like they're totally destroying the market. Like they're making it hard for absolute everyone now.
Yeah,
Like
I think their yearly spend over is like 75 million each year with what they've done. It works out.
Madrid was 5 million a year.
Yeah,
that's basically it. That's how they can do it,
and that's how they've got around it.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
it's 70% of their incomings can go on players. 70.
Yeah, roundabouts. I think it's changed over the last couple of years.
It does concern me because for two reasons. I was listening to something yesterday and they were saying, will they continue to spend in the summer? And I can't see why they wouldn't continue to spend in the summer because they ain't, like, let's be honest, they ain't getting into the Champions League this year, are they? Like, the team's still well disjointed. Like, if you look at even Friday's game, like, you're looking at players that are in the team at the moment and they're starting. Like, the CH one was a weird one, wasn't it? Well, like, he was out the door, basically. He looked like he had the proper one going into Stamford Bridge on Friday, and they're starting him, and then they're still starting Conor Gallagher, and there's a few others. You sit there and you think they're going to spend massive again, and the worry for me is that we're going to go in for the Brighton guy again and Declan Rice, and they're going to be right on our tails with that, and they're going to be whacking it up by 30 million each time, and that just rules us out of it. And they don't care, do they? Because they're just stockpiling, and that's all they've ever done. Like, how many players have they actually got now? Like, if you look at,
I think they've got 9 wingers. They've got 9 wingers, Liam.
It's 12 forwards in total.
There should be There should be a maximum, shouldn't there? There should be a maximum.
Well, you've got a thing. Aubameyang's been dropped from the Champions League squad, so he's not going to be playing. They've got, I think, 33 players in total. 33, 35.
How can they even register all these players? They can't, can they?
They can't. They can only register 25. So you're going to have 10 players sitting at home,
earning a wedge for nothing.
Yeah.
It's shocking. It's shocking. But yeah, again, like we are gonna be in that situation in the summer. And like, obviously, I really want Declan Rice because I think he'll be brilliant. Like, I think under Arteta as well, he'll get the best out of him. And I think, like, from a point of view that he's a leader and everything, I think he'd do really well for us. And I hear that we're hearing all the right words that he's talking about Arsenal. He wants to come Arsenal, but I'm not buying it at the moment because we see what happened with Mudryk. And if Chelsea come in, we just get swallowed out of it again.
But with a Mudryk deal, he wanted to come to the Premier League. First and
he
foremost,
wanted to come to Arsenal, didn't he? Really?
But that was because at the time we were the only club in for him. Had there been several clubs, he wouldn't have minded. It was just coming away from Ukraine, and we offered the same amount of money in total as Chelsea. They just offered a bigger upfront payment.
It's not just that as well, though, Richard. It's not just that as well, because me and Paul spoke about it last week. Bowley offered 20 million as well towards the Ukraine effort. Have you seen the actual interview with the Ukrainian? I think it was the actual owner took that 20 million out of his own pocket. He will get that back, of course, but it was from his own pocket.
But
We didn't get the guy to
that was
go
from
mad,
that
did it?
interview. But it wasn't an actual personal payment from Bowley.
Well,
It will go from.
that's what they were spouting,
It will come
so.
from that transfer. It will come from that transfer fee in the future. But he took it out of his own pocket immediately, and you've got to think for Shakhtar, they lost a lot of their foreign players because UEFA said you can cancel your contracts because of a situation, then you're free to go. So they got no money for them. They lost a lot of players. That money coming in, it keeps them alive as a club.
Fair enough.
Which are, and you can't argue with them for that.
No, not at all. I'm not. I'm just, we didn't get it, so,
No.
I mean, I think it's been around for years, but when do you put a cap on it? When do you say this is the maximum? This is the maximum you can pay for a player.
Well, if Chelsea keep going the way they're going, right, this is when people governing bodies will step in and go, right, that's enough. You know what I mean? Because if you look at
there's got to be something in there.
If you look at it, Newcastle will blow everybody out of the water, but they haven't.
No, they've been very sensible so far and very restrained under Eddie Howe.
He's American and he's showing off. That's all he's doing. He's showing off. Yeah. I can go here, I can go there, I can buy whoever I like.
Problem is, though, right? The problem they're going to have is, they're still not going to get in the Champions League, right?
No, I know.
Whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? And
especially if they do what they did against Fulham.
But I just don't like. You can go and buy all these players. Like, to be fair, not even Roman did it like this, did he? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't even do it like this. But you can go and do all this, right? But the problem you got nowadays is, right? It's not like back in 2005 when there was only 2 or 3 teams. Like you said, there's a Man City now. There's a Newcastle. There's a Liverpool. There's an Arsenal. There's a Manchester United. There's like 6, 7 teams. Like, no one's guaranteed every season to be getting Champions League football next season now because the competition's so tight. Like, you didn't even include Spurs because they've been in Champions League for the last few years.
Well, it's hard to win the league. Hard to win the league. You know,
but and you've also got teams. I think you've got to include Brighton in that. They got 2 games in hand on teams. Tottenham. They were only 6 points behind, and they so they're in that European competition equation there.
Well, Brighton are a small fish in a big pond, but they're doing really, really well.
Yeah, because they're well run and they've got a very good recruitment team. So it's getting harder and harder.
Regretting it. I think Potter's regretting it.
I think he probably will do.
Well, yeah, he should. Like, for me, do you know what? For me, like, the one job that you wouldn't have taken, and probably is the toughest job in England, right? It's the Chelsea job, because at the end of the day, right, it's always been renowned that, isn't it? Like, people don't last that long. You either win stuff, and you still get sacked, but he's not going to win stuff. And do you know what? If he gets probably another couple of defeats or doesn't do anything in the next 2, 3 games, you've got to start sitting there and going, well, wait a minute, that Bowley's got to make a decision, isn't he? Whether it's right or wrong, it's probably not right, because if you look at it, he's had no players and he's been given loads of players and then just said, go and deal with it. Like, it's not easy to do that in the Premier League. Like, it's not easy to even go to, like, teams like Nottingham Forest nowadays. Like, even your, like, teams that are down the bottom, your Leeds, your Wolves, your Evertons. Do you know what I mean? And just go and set up 11 players and go on, go and beat them. It's not that easy anymore, is it? No. And I don't think this is, like, they definitely won't get in Europe this year. Like, they'll struggle to even get in the Europa League at this point. But, do you know,
well, they're still in the Champions League, aren't they? So, I mean,
they're not going to win.
That's the only way they. I think that's the only way they get.
I'm with them. They're not going
if they win it.
Then I'm with them. They're not going to win it. They're not going to.
Not this time round. Not under Potter. They're not going to win it. Nah.
There's too much going on behind the scenes. It's all disjointed. They can't seem to put out a proper team anyway. So no, they're not going to win it, Rich. Honestly, they're not.
No, I don't think they will.
I couldn't tell you who's going to win.
That's the only option to them, really, because
I don't see them winning the Champions League this year. I couldn't tell you who's going to win that Champions League, because when you look at that Champions League this year, right, Real Madrid are not doing that great. Barcelona already out of the Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain are probably one of your favourites, and Man City, but Man City ain't even that great this year. Do you know what I mean? And Bayern Munich will always be Bayern Munich, but it's not someone that you can actually sit there and go, do you know what, they're going to win the Champions League this year? I actually couldn't tell you who's going to win the Champions League this year.
Yeah. No.
It'd be sod's law if Chelsea did win it, though, wouldn't it? It'd be absolute sod's law.
Nah, we just don't even want to think about that.
I'll tell you what, the only good thing is that whoever's in that fourth spot at the end of the season, if Chelsea win the Champions League, they don't get Champions League. Can you imagine if that was Spurs and they somehow nick fourth spot, and then they're done by Chelsea winning the Champions League?
Well, Tottenham are still in the Champions League.
Who?
Yeah, they're they're inconsistent, and they only tend to play for 45 minutes a game.
Well, this is what we're hoping, isn't we? Let's be honest, yeah, right? We're hoping that Man City probably get one of the English clubs, like a Tottenham or a Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Get them crunched in between their fixtures as well, because that's going to play havoc, isn't it? If you got to go play Tottenham or Liverpool in the Champions League, and we're sitting in a lovely situation. Do you know what? We don't need to go out for the UEFA Cup. It's not really a priority for us, but for Man City, it's everything. Man City, like.
We played Chelsea, didn't we? That was 2003, 2004, wasn't it? Played Chelsea. And then we got beat by Wayne Bridge, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that was sandwiched in between like a title run and
Wayne Bridge.
We could definitely do them drawing Liverpool. Because like Liverpool, yeah, but how bad they're doing, yeah, right? They still went and beat Man City in the league, didn't they? And there's that rivalry between Liverpool and Man City, obviously because of Pep and Klopp, and that won't go away. So if they get any of them two, mate, I'll be loving that and rubbing my hands nicely, because
Liverpool have never been the same without Mane, Liam. Liverpool have never been the same.
Nah, well they're in total disarray, ain't they? But
I see Madrid wiping the floor with Liverpool, to be honest.
Oh, is that they got Liverpool, Madrid?
Yeah, I think Madrid wiped the floor with them. It's just I don't see unless the old Liverpool turn up, which is highly unlikely.
What with Dalglish and like
Lawrence.
Yeah. Like McMahon give him the 1 minute signal.
I don't see it with them. And I think you're probably fine, but we all know Haaland was bought to win City the Champions League. He wasn't bought to win. They thought they could win the Premier League without Haaland, because they've been doing it for the last 4 seasons without Haaland.
Yeah, but we've got Super Mick Arteta. That's what we need.
It's just not a clear outright though, is there, this year? No, Champions League. Like, to be fair, Man City probably are one of the favourites, and probably still could potentially will go and win it, because there is really no one else. Like you said, I think it's either Real Madrid, Man City, or Paris Saint-Germain. But
and then Bayern Munich is your fourth choice out of that. I think that's probably your semi-finals.
I would put my money on PSG, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you'll probably find Man City and either PSG one semi-final, Bayern and Real Madrid the other, and then whoever wins, and then you'll probably find it'll be a City Real Madrid final, possibly.
I'll be cheering Man City on all the way, mate.
Yeah.
Before we go, because Paul looks like he needs to put his kids to bed or go to sleep or something, right? But before we go, I think we need to touch on Balogun, because he scored more goals than Mbappe and Messi.
Yeah, he's got 14 goal contributions in all, and a lot of it, I mean, quite a few of them have been penalties, fair enough, but it's still a feat it's still pretty good considering it's his first real taste of.
But that's something, isn't it? To be scoring more goals than Mbappe and Messi. That's something, isn't it?
And,
Yeah,
And
for a mid-
Neymar.
for a
And
mid-table team,
Neymar. Yeah, exactly. And Neymar.
for a mid-table team, and getting those numbers is decent. There's still that kind of talk of fans again saying, "Oh, we should have bought him back, or we should bring him back." That's why he should have been at Arsenal, because he can score goals.
but he wouldn't
In all
get
honesty,
the game time, would
he
he?
wouldn't have had the game time. No, he wouldn't have had this game time. It's the same with Saliba. And you're looking like last season, and you're
Totally
thinking
agree.
Saliba wouldn't have been our first choice
Totally
defence.
agree.
You wouldn't have. It would been. He'd have been an unknown and a risk at that point. You wouldn't have just chucked him in.
Yeah.
I think last season.
How much is Balogun worth now then? Though,
As I said, 40-50 million, isn't he?
Yeah, 40, yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
for a player who can, if he scores 20 plus goal, makes 20 plus goal contributions in League On, he's got to be, because he'll be right up there with Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, even if he doesn't get the Golden Boot in League On this season. If he's close,
it'd be good for the kid if he could.
yeah.
I think if you look at that goal he scored at Paris Saint-Germain in that 95th minute, yeah, right. Just watch that goal on again. I've watched it loads of times. Like to go and do that, yeah, right, and have the composure to do that, to round the goalkeeper, yeah, right. Like I thought it was pretty special, and I've always rated him. Like when I've seen him, like he come on in the Europa Cup, didn't he bag a few goals and all that?
But he is special, Liam.
But he like Paul said, at the end of the day, you got. There's no point rushing these people back. Do you know what I mean? Let them stay out there. Let him grow in confidence. Because at the moment, what's happening at the moment is like the man. He's like the man there, isn't he? Like he's probably seen as he'll probably lead that club. If we're being totally honest here, with some kind of legacy, and he will lead there with some kind of legacy with what he's produced there this season.
And that hat trick the other day. I mean. He scored a volley with his right foot. It was a one volley with his left foot, and then the first one was a penalty, of course. But and he had, to be honest, he had 3 or 4 more chances in that game, but he didn't take as well. Yeah. Shots were blocked. Keeper made a save. One went over a bar, and so.
Does this mean though? Then, yeah, right. But this is the question, yeah, right. Because obviously, in the past, we've been looking for another striker. With him coming back, right, with Eddie Nketiah and Jesus, are we probably not even thinking about that position anymore? Then, because what he's doing out there, does he give him does he bring him back in next year? You'd like to think so with Champions League as well. Like, there's going to be a lot of games, isn't there? Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, Premier League.
This is his problem, isn't it? And this is a nice problem for him to have. What do you do? Do you keep them both and have them as second and third choices? Do you sell Nketiah? Do you sell Balogun and bring in another forward instead of them? Either way, I think we're winners in that situation, because we're going to get decent. You'll get decent money for Nketiah. You'll get decent money for Balogun if you wanted to sell one or the other. But if you keep them both, we've got.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right at this moment in time, it'd be harsh to sell any of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it would.
Yeah.
The kid's not intimidated.
Next season, I think with 3 strikers, you'd kind of almost take them. And I said this next season would be probably Nketiah's last season, if we were thinking it as a plan when we got him to renew. We'd give him 2 years to prove himself. If he showed he could do it at the level that we need him to, like when Jesus is out injured, coming in, scoring the goals, then great. He's there, he can stay. Yeah. If he weren't scoring goals and the goals were drying up as a team, it would show that he's not doing the job. He might not be ready for this level, and we would then get value for him with the 5-year contract or the 3 years that he's got left, and we'd get value for him as a player, as opposed to losing him last year for free. So
Nketiah still you're on about, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's that's it. He'd have been given 2 years to just go and prove himself, If he does, then great. If he doesn't, then yeah, he would probably find himself being sold for value. And I imagine Balogun's going to be a similar kind of thing. I'm sure there'll be a new contract negotiated for when he does come back to us, and then it all starts again, doesn't it? And it's one of those, and you're suddenly thinking, yeah, you've got 3 hungry players there who will want game time. Is there a need to buy a 70, 80 million pound striker when you've got Jesus already there?
Yeah.
Again, you're just looking at it. Well, apart from Chelsea, who would buy a 70, 80 million pound player to sit on the bench?
Probably not. Yeah, there ain't really no one at the moment, is there? Like, if you look at it, when you look at it in perspective, Man United need a striker, don't they? That's obvious. They're going to need a striker up front. Do you know what I mean? Like I know Chelsea, like, they got fucking loads. They still got Lukaku to come back, which cracked me up. I forgot he was even there still. But he's still there. Do you know what I mean? But you look at it, like, you don't know what's going to go with Harry Kane at Tottenham. Will he stay there? Will he go? But if he wants to finally go and eventually try and win something nowadays, you'd have thought in his head he's sitting there thinking, I broke the record now. I need to win trophies. That's what you would think.
I think he's left it too late, Liam.
I still think if he went United, mate, I still think they'll pay. Still think they'll pay for him. Yeah.
You've got a point. But here's the thing you've got to ask yourselves, guys. Right? Okay. We went for that Blaovic lad, yeah, from Juventus, right? We were interested in him for ages. Who'd you rather have, Blaovic or Balogun? Next season.
Well, this is my issue.
Next season.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
This is my issue. That I think we do need that kind of. We do need a player like that. We could have done with that kind of player 100% yesterday. And when we're getting into the Champions League, it's all about the plan, innit? And you got to throw all the niceties out the window. We're back in the Champions League. We need to stay in the Champions League year in, year out, and we want the best players. So, unfortunately, I still think we need a different kind of striker maybe someone like Jay. We need 3 strikers definitely, but I think we still need that kind of a target man and such, or someone who can come in them kind of games when it ain't going well for us and mix it up. And we haven't got that.
Yeah.
So it would mean 4. We need a 4 strikers.
Maybe you have to sell one then, wouldn't you? That's the problem.
Well, 4, but then maybe used one maybe on one of those as cover for maybe a wider position.
I was sitting there today, Paul, thinking as well, yeah, like back in the day, mate, we had 4 all the time, didn't we? We had Bergkamp, we had Henry, we had Kanu, we had Wiltord.
Multiple positions again as well, though, Liam. You know what I mean? There were, yeah. I mean, Paul, that's a point. Bergkamp. That CFAX thing you sent me. Yeah? Thanks for that. But back then it was hard to keep track. It was actually harder to keep track of what was going on in the transfer market, not like it is today. You know what I mean? So,
no, you used to dial in the number and then you just wait for it to refresh.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Same with the rumours, and then you're literally going on about 3 pages and just waiting for CFAX.
Just go good old CFAX.
£7.5 million for Bergkamp. If we played today in this team, we'd be stronger. I genuinely believe we'd be stronger.
I think in terms of forwards, I think you look at most players, I think you would be stronger. But I think in terms of midfield players and technical players, I think it's better now. Do you know what I mean? But the lack of forwards nowadays is, like I said, we had 4 forwards back in them days. We had 4 forwards that we could play at any given time, and they'd all do a job, and they'd all come in and perform if and when needed. And now we're looking at, we just got 2.
Well, it's like I said Trossard last week. I said Trossard reminds me of Santi Cazorla. The way he goes to players.
Oh, you could potentially look at him, but in like maybe in that kind of role against certain teams, like especially in the Open Cup. If he was playing a lesser team, he might. I think he'll try. I reckon he'll play Smith Rowe in the number 8 role.
Possibly.
Let's just hope he's staying fit anyway. Because I think he's got another recurrence of an injury.
Running out with these injuries, he's running out of time, isn't he, Paul?
Well, it's stunting
He's
that progression that he made last
Yeah.
season.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what I say. And he had that forward trajectory, and it was as that. Then this kind of just stops it a little bit.
Do we know how long he's
And
out
then
for?
it's a thigh injury this time, though, isn't it?
I had a rumor. Apparently, it may have been knee.
Ah,
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
so
no.
it's a yeah.
They can have you out for months, man.
Well, you don't know. Maybe it's a knock, but yeah, I don't know. It's not great. I think just because you're getting all these little niggly injuries and
Jesus is back
Yeah.
training, isn't he, apparently, this week?
training, I imagine he's probably going to be at least 3 weeks away.
Oh, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Crow Dewberry was on the bench. Crozier Dewberry was on the bench today, weren't he?
Yeah,
I
he's a
like
good little
him.
player. He's a good little
Oh,
player.
he's going to be a good mate. He's a talent, mate. He's a fucking talent, that kid.
Yeah. I'd agree with you, Liam. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a Saka Mark II, isn't he?
He is.
Not saying he's going to go the same exact way, but I do like. He's very direct. He's very confident. I like the look of him.
He's very Saka-ish, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
No, it is a thigh strain with Smith
He is
Rowe.
thigh.
It's not.
He's a price right.
I heard rumours saying about knee, but obviously it's come out and confirmed.
0-0 the Arsenal women.
Paul, valuable
Yeah.
lesson.
Finished.
Paul, valuable lesson. Don't listen to rumours.
There's 3 minutes of added time.
No, my head. It's finished.
Well, yeah, we've been peppering them, but
Is it 0-0 still, is it?
yeah.
Finished.
Oh, it has finished now.
Yeah.
I must
Oh,
have a leg.
you've even got the leg on the football.
Oh, I'm not surprised I've got a lag on the women's because I took my internet off my phone, so I got better internet on there.
Guys, I think we're going to
Wrap it.
we're going to rein it in.
Yeah, we've been banging
Two
on
out
a bit, haven't we?
10.
Yeah, we've been banging
A
on a bit.
mammoth session of talking Arsenal. No, thanks, Des, Richard, and Liam for tonight.
Thank you,
as always.
Thank you for having us on.
It's been
It's been brilliant being
it's
on
been a
with you,
very
mate.
it's been a strange night. It's been very quiet. The chat. I think
Yeah.
everyone's a little bit sleepy.
No,
tonight.
I think they're,
I've never seen it
they're
so.
celebrating Kane's goal, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So next week we should be. Well, yeah, it's same time next week or 6:30 start.
Yeah.
Going over the remnants of Brentford, and hopefully 3 points,
Yeah.
and even more positivity. So it's been good discussion, and lots of good points, guys. So thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna
Brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm gonna end bedtime duties now, and get going. But cheers. Up the Arsenal.
Cheers, mate.
Come on,
Come on, you Gunners.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.